Welcome to this Lumio webinar. We're starting all sorts of new stuff today. First, we're starting the new platform with StreamYard as our backbone, doing this. So we'll see how this all goes today. I'm Terry, and with me today are Min and Lena, and we all work at Smart. We're going to ask you to, if you haven't already, drop in the chat where you're from and really about what the weather is, because it's really hot here in Pennsylvania. So I'm hoping it's nicer in some other places. Maybe it's someplace I want to go visit. But drop us in the chat so we know who you are and where you're from. And at the end of this session, I will be putting a lot of links in the chat, including the survey that will have the certificate. Feel free to ask questions during the session. However, we're going to hold off and not answer them until the end if we haven't already answered them during the session. This session will be recorded and you will get it in your email in about a week. So sometime next week, you should be getting it. And you can share it with whoever you want after that because it's all new and everybody likes to see stuff. By the way, if you see stuff you like, take a screenshot and share it on social media. Put Go Lumio, pound Go Lumio, so we can give you some little love in there. And then now I'm going to bring up Min's screen so he can introduce you to class sessions.
Thank you, Terry. Hey, everybody. Super excited to be here with everybody right before the summer. And we have a big feature we want to share with you today called class sessions. Before we get started, I do want to give a shout out to everyone because, you give us a lot of great feedback about how to improve Lumio. And this is one of those features that's been top of our list for a while. So hopefully everybody's excited to use it as well. So we get a lot of feedback from our teachers, especially high school teachers, that you often use Lumio lessons with multiple classes of students. So let's say a math teacher might have like 4 different periods, and you want to reuse the same lesson with all of those students. And right now, it may be kind of cumbersome to do so in Lumio because you have to remember to create duplicates of the lesson or try to reset the lesson. We get that one a lot, wanting to reset the lesson itself. So class sessions aims to solve that problem. And the way that we're solving that problem is essentially we are helping you separate your lesson content and the student data that you will capture into your lessons when you deliver or assign those lessons to students. So I'll show you what that means. So I'm in my library now. I am showing you this on our test environment. So this feature is not live yet, but it is going to be live soon. So hopefully everybody is excited and looking forward to that. So one of the first things you'll notice when I go to my library and hover over one of my lessons is that the calls to action of what you can do to a lesson has changed slightly. So currently in Lumio, we have start and assign, which means that you are starting or assigning that lesson file directly. And when you deliver that to students, you're capturing student data directly into that file, which is why if you're trying to reuse that file, you get all of that student data still remaining in the file, and then they get combined with student data from other classes, and everything gets a little messy. So now when you go and interact with the file in my library, and you click on Start New, you'll probably guess what happens. So we take you into live delivery, as you currently do in Lumio, but what happens in the background is we create a new artifact called a session. That's essentially a copy of the file from your library. And the session is specific to the group of students that you're currently delivering to. And as you can see, the session does get a default name, but we do recommend that you rename it if you know which group of students you're delivering this to, which class you're delivering to. And this will help you find the session at a later time. So I'm going to click OK here. And you can see I'm brought into the live delivery of Lumio. Nothing really changes here. You can get students to connect to your class ID. Students can join the session. They can go and participate in the activities. You can capture the student data. And when you are done with the session, you can go here and click End Session. And here is where you'll notice the first thing that is a little bit different. For those of you who have a sharp eye, you probably noticed that we have a new tab in Lumio called Class Sessions. And this is essentially where all of your previously assigned or delivered sessions will now live. And you can see at the very top here, was that session that I just delivered live to my students, to my Section 5 students. Um, and as well, I have all the sessions that I delivered in the past in this list too. So this list is sorted by last access. So the sessions that I've assigned or created or delivered recently will show up at the top. So conceptually, you can really think about the difference being previously, everything sort of went through my library. You went to my library to create new lessons, to deliver them, and then you also went back to my library when you wanted to interact with lessons that you delivered. So now there's the separation of you go to my library if you want to create something new, or if you want to deliver something new or assign something new. So if you want to start something new, you would go to my library. But if you want to access things you've done in the past, things you've delivered or assigned in the past, you now go to the new class sessions tab and you can see everything that you've done in the past. So what that allows you to do is, let's say, I just delivered that addition lesson to section 5, and now I have section 6. I can go back to my library, click on start new again, and Lumio automatically creates another session for you.
So you're telling me I no longer have to make copies for every single one of my classes.
Absolutely. So
You have
you don't
just
have to
saved me a
worry about
lot
that.
of time, Min. You have saved me a lot of time.
And as you can see, when I start the sessions, it's almost instantaneous. So it's a lot faster than having to wait for your lessons to duplicate and to copy and then start them for your students. So here's another fresh copy for my section 6 students. And then if I end the session here, you can see that it takes me back to my class sessions list. And I have the sections separated so that you can keep your student data separated as well, so they don't get combined together unintentionally. So I'll go back to my library. You probably noticed that we also have assign new. So start new obviously takes you into live delivery, a new live delivery directly. Assign new is what you can use if you just wanted to create a assignment for students to work on independently. So if I click on assign new here, it will give you some messaging letting you know that a session has been created from that file. And again, it takes you to the class sessions tab, where that session that you just assigned shows up at the top here. And there's one extra step you'll need to do to properly assign this to students, and that's by clicking the share assignment button. And that's where you will go and retrieve the session link that then you would either attach that to an LMS assignment, or you can email that out to students. And with that link, as you can currently, students will be able to sign in, go into that lesson or that session, and complete the work in there, even if you're not present in the session.
So, Min, to paraphrase what somebody said, I can think of my library as my templates basically,
Absolutely.
and then this class sessions is going to be like all my data.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great mental model to have. And this is not just for teachers who maybe teach multiple periods of students, but also, of course, if you teach semester to semester, right? Like even if you only teach one class of students each semester, you probably don't want to have the student data from when you taught the lesson the previous semester to show up in your lesson when you want to reuse it for the new semester. So that also makes that easy as well. Because the previous deliveries, again, will show up in class sessions.
Even as an elementary teacher, every year I had to clear out old student data. So this way I don't have to do that because I would get a new fresh one every year.
Absolutely.
So those are all wonderful things.
Yeah. So that's really the main core workflow change you now just go to class sessions to access your previously delivered assigned lessons to your students. The other thing I want to touch on, as you can see in this class sessions list, the reason why we recommend that you rename the sessions is for quick access. So we do have search for your sessions as well. So for example, if you did rename your sessions by the class, you can quickly search by the class identifier that you maybe attached to the session name. And you can see that quickly brings up all of the sessions that particular class has done. So that's a really quick way if you wanted to just, see all of the work that particular class has done. Alternatively, you can search by the lesson name, and that brings up all of the related sessions for that particular lesson that all the different classes have done. So either it depends on how you want to review or assess the student work there, whether you want to do it lesson by lesson, or if you want to do it by class to class, you can use the search to quickly get access to those sessions. All
I want
right.
to go back for a second just to
Mhm.
reiterate another question that popped up. So if I want to share with my students, everything student driven is from the class session tab because that's the shared assignment link right there.
That
And
is correct.
they're still going to sign in with their Google login or their Microsoft login because that's how we can track the data and who it is.
That's
All right.
correct.
But the other share, like if I go back to my library, the other
Mhm.
share is still there, Min. So what's the difference between that and the share assignment?
That is a great question. So we have two ways of two use cases for sharing. One is if you wanted to have a lesson to share with your colleagues, with other teachers, you can still do that. So that's sharing your lesson content, right? So you'll see when I open this menu in my library for a lesson that I have the share file button, and that gives me allows me to generate a link that I can then share with other teachers. And what this link does is the same what it currently does in Lumio, which is when the other teacher gets this link, they can save a copy of that lesson to their own My Library and use it with their students. And then note, of course, that this link does not share any student data that you have. So this is only sharing the lesson content.
That kind of
But
goes back to that other thinking somebody had that this is templates. I'd share templates with other teachers, but I would share the actual lesson with somebody else. Now, let's suppose, Min, I make a change in the master file, but I already have a couple copies here. What happens then?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. So once you've assigned or started a new session from a file, essentially is like a copy of that file. So if you make changes to that file after the sessions have already been created, those changes won't be reflected in the sessions that you've already created. But they will, of course, be reflected in any new sessions that you create.
But can I go into class sessions then and edit that class?
Yeah, so in sessions, you will be able to open up that session and make changes. We do have the ability to go into edit mode to edit sessions. And that is something that is coming soon, but won't be available in the initial release.
All right. And I also see here in review and start live. What is the difference between review and start live?
Yeah, so that's what I want to get to next.
All
So,
right.
of course, one of the things that you probably want to do most often when you interact with lessons that you've assigned or delivered in the past is to review the contents of the student work that's in it. Previously or currently in Lumio, you have to start that lesson, which means that if you have any students connected to your class ID, every time you click on start, it implicitly uh, post those students into your lesson, even though you just wanted to be in there yourself to review. So we kind of solved that problem by having a dedicated action just to allow you to review. So for example, this is one that I assign to my students who work on independently. I can click on review and that loads up the lesson in now what we call review mode. So you can do as you previously have done, go into the lesson, navigate to a lesson, and then open up the dashboard and see any student work that might be in there. Um,
But if I
but
were logged into your class, I wouldn't be able to see this because it's in review mode, right?
That's correct. And I
Okay.
do see there's some people signed in or connected to my student ID here, or my class ID. So for those of you who are connected, you're not seeing this lesson because this lesson right now is in review mode, which means that I'm just looking through it and looking at the student data myself, rather than delivering this live to my students. And the way that you can tell this is in review mode, as you can probably see, is by the floating toolbar, the yellow floating toolbar at the bottom, which you can move around, that lets you know that you're in review mode. Another subtle indication is in the icon here in the toolbar. It shows in the yellow color, which again tells you that this is not a live session, this is in review.
You're always
Um,
hiding stuff in special places I've never seen before. I like seeing the little yellow up there.
yeah. So that one's a little bit more subtle, but
Yeah.
this one is more obvious.
Okay, so I've reviewed my data, but now I want my class to start this particular lesson. Can I
Yeah,
start it
so
from here, or do I need to go back to the
you can
class session?
absolutely start it directly from review mode. So let's say, you just wanted to open up a lesson in review mode and go through it to quickly to look at the student work from the previous day before you start it live for the whole class. You can go in here in review mode, make sure everything looks right, make sure all of the students who are connected are the students that you want to connect to the class. If they're not, then you can of course go in there, edit, and remove anyone who's not supposed to be in the class. And then when everything is ready, you can either click Start Live in this is the class panel here, or you can just click Start Live in the review yellow toolbar. So I'm going to do that now. And for those of you who joined my class, it may not work for you because, again, I am running this off of our dev environment. So this is, again, not live for everybody yet. But what it will happen is it will pull everybody into that particular session when it goes live. And again, you can see the indicators here. The icon has turned green now. And if I did have my class ID up, you'll see that the yellow toolbar will becomes this black toolbar with a little green symbol indicating that this is now a live session.
And I can have one live session going, but I can, in another tab, open and reviewing work from another class, correct?
Yes, absolutely. So that's one of the nice things about this review mode is, we have heard a lot from teachers that you want to be able to work with Lumio across multiple tabs and different lessons as a way to work more efficiently within Lumio. And now you can do that. So today, if you try to do that in Lumio, you'll probably realize that every time you open a new tab, go to a different lesson, Lumio forces your previous tabs to synchronize to that same lesson, which kind of defeats the purpose of having lessons in multiple tabs. But with review mode, I can, let's say I'm going to review this lesson. So I can see the student work inside, and I'm going to open up another tab, and I want to review a different lesson at the same time. Click on review here, and that will load up. And you'll see that it doesn't affect the tab that it was in previously.
Ooh, I could even do a pre and post test and compare both kids as they pre and post tested from certain units.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to open up a third one here. So one of the ways that you could use this, if you want to, for efficiency, is let's say if you have multiple resources or activities that you wanted to use for your class for the day, and you want to be able to quickly jump between them. So today you have to exit the lesson and then go back to your My Library and find the other lesson you wanted to use. But you can have everything set up in multiple tabs now in Lumio. And when you're ready to post students into a particular activity or resource, you can go to that tab and just click Start Live. And what that will do is post students into this particular lesson. Again, for those of you who are connected, this is not the feature isn't fully live yet, so you won't be actually pulled in. But once the feature is live, this will work for students. And then when you're done with delivering this particular activity live, and you wanted the students to move on to the next one, you simply jump over to the next tab and click on Start Live here. And now students are pulled in here. So it's very seamless when you have everything queued up in different tabs. And if you're wondering what happens to the previous tab, it simply just lets you know that another session or another resource is now in live delivery. And this just puts this previous session in review mode because you are still able to only have one live delivery at a time.
And that we might want to reiterate that because we're getting questions in the chat on that one. How many did you say? How many live sessions can I have going at one time?
Just one.
Just one.
Yeah. And that's just because we don't want to cause any confusion between what students are looking at, right? So the one that you start live will be the one that students are in there, and you are directing the lesson delivery. You can see once I start live, you will have your lesson pacing options. By default, it's teacher paced, and connected students will automatically be pulled to the page that you're looking at, whereas the other ones are in review, meaning that, of course, students are not looking at these. But what you can do with our share assignment link is, if you did want to do something like centers, instead of getting students to join the class ID, you could share these other sessions with students using the share assignment link, which is the session link. And that allows those students to go into those sessions and work in those sessions, even if the teacher is not delivering it live. Okay.
Yes, Sarah,
So
and that's exactly it. You can have as many asynchronous ones as you want going and one live one. So you could do some stations doing some different things and then having one live with your small group.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But a really cool thing about having multiple tabs, now you can keep an eye on both students who are working in centers inside of using asynchronous links or the session link, because you can just jump over to that tab. And if they are doing the activities, you'll be able to see their work in real time in those activity dashboards. And then you can quickly jump back to your live session that you are driving, for the connected students, and monitor their progress as well. So
And that's a good point to make, Min, because being able to check to see what my small groups are doing without having to walk there, I can just check my different tabs and see if they're working. That's awesome.
yeah. All right. So I'm going to jump back and end this session. So when you end the session, it takes you back to the list of class sessions you have. I do want to point out that regardless if you choose to start new or assign new for a file, it ultimately just creates a session for you. The only difference between the start new and the assign new is that the start new takes you into live delivery right away. But it doesn't lock you into the type of session, like whether it's a live session or it's an async session forever. So you can see I had this session that I originally assigned as independent work to my students. But let's say if the next day I wanted to do this as a live delivery for my students in the classroom, I can just go back here, find that session, and click on this button called Start Live. And that Start Live essentially starts the session that already exists rather than starts a new session. So so in this way, you can very quickly jump between, whether you wanted to you can take a asynchronous lesson that you assigned and start and do that live with students, or vice versa. If you had a lesson that you originally started live in the classroom, and afterwards you want a student to be able to complete the work that's in that live lesson, maybe independently at home, you can take that live session and you can click share assignment to get the student link, to get the session link, and share with students afterwards, so that they can go in there and resume the work that they did in the class. Okay, and that's all functionality that currently exists in Lumio. I just wanted to point that out because obviously the buttons for where you go to access that functionality has changed slightly. The other things I want to point out in this new class sessions view is that you can go and delete sessions manually if you don't want to keep them around, to keep things a little bit tidier. Or if you didn't get to rename the session when you first started it, you can go back to any of the sessions in this list and click on rename and change the name so that it's better organized for you. Okay.
Awesome.
And the last thing I do want to mention, since I think most of you already use Lumio, and maybe you're wondering about this. So let's say you currently have a lot of Lumio lessons that you've delivered this semester with students, and you have student data in those lessons. When this change goes live, how do you access the student data that's stored in those previous lessons, right? Because they weren't created as sessions. So how do I get access to those lessons? So there will be a way for you, that's the good news, for you to get to that student work. And the way to do that is simply by going to a lesson in your My Library that you know has student data from the past. And you can click on the More menu. And if you scroll to the bottom of the menu here, we have a new function called Legacy Review. So what Legacy Review does is it opens the file itself and allows you to browse around the file. So here you're not delivering the file, you're simply just reviewing what's in the file. And if you have, let's say, this handout activity that you delivered in the past that has student data in it, you can go to that, click on student progress, and see the student work that was captured previously.
So
Yeah,
if I
so
want to go back and look at last year's work, I still can. I just go to the three dots and legacy. And then you just showed something that's relatively new on your screen, Min. Can you minimize that? That your Min should go back to the,
yeah.
if you weren't aware, Min, this was relatively new launch sometime this month, wasn't it? That the
Yeah,
dot,
so
dot, dot.
this isn't class workflow related, but yeah, so for handouts dashboard, we're now also showing connected students in the dashboards, even if they haven't started the activity. So you can see them showing up as kind of slightly grayed out. That means those students haven't started the activity, but they're part of the current live session. And then for students who are still have the session open and are working in it, you can see the dots. And then when they click done, then you'll get the check mark. So,
Awesome. But now I know which student to bug, Min, because they're grayed out. So I know which ones haven't joined yet. I like that.
yes,
All right, we're
absolutely.
going to run out of time, so I'm going to let Lena pick a few questions and put them on the screen so that you can see them all. Whatever questions we don't get answered, we'll bubble up and we'll try to answer them. Remember, you're going to get the full recording of this next week, and whatever other things we can answer, we'll make sure is in that particular email that comes out to you. But Lena, do you want to pop in some questions that we think he needs to answer?
I think we answered a lot of them, but maybe I will go from the most recent ones. Someone is asking here about, we had a lot of questions around student data, when it's safe and which types of activities, and assigning sessions, like loading students, how does it happen? If we can kind of go back to that. And
Okay. Yeah. So when you want to assign a lesson for students to work on independently right off from the start, you can just go to any lesson that you have in your My Library and then click on Assign New. And you'll see this little message letting you know that session has been created. When you click OK, that takes you to class sessions. You'll also see a message saying that the session was added. And because this list is sorted by last access, most recently created sessions will always show up at the top. So that session that I've just assigned will show up at the top here. And to properly share this with your students, you would then just click on Share Assignment, which then retrieves the link for you to then distribute to your students either via email, or if you want to attach it to an LMS assignment or a Google Classroom assignment, this is the link that you would then copy and paste into those assignments. This is the same as how Lumio works today. So today in Lumio, what you would do is you would go to a lesson and you would click on Share, and that will give you two different types of share links. One of them is the student share link or the access link, and that will be the link that you would then share with students. But again, because now we're creating sessions for you to capture the student data, the only extra step here is that when you click Assign, it creates the session, and then the session link is the link that you want to share with students for them to record their work into the session instead of into the file directly.
Awesome. I'm going to throw another one underneath there that was asked by Michelle. How much storage will teachers have for the sessions? Does that depend on the subscription?
Yes, that's a great question. So for our standard and our Spark subscriptions, there you have unlimited storage, so sessions doesn't really come into play. For our free users, we are increasing our storage from 50 megabytes, our free storage from 50 megabytes to 100 megabytes, because we are now acknowledging that, of course, now with sessions, every time you create or you deliver or assign something, you will be creating a new artifact to capture student data. So both sessions and files will count the same in terms of storage, but now you have double the storage to work with as a free plan user in Lumio.
Awesome. Thank you. Here's another one, share from Crystal. When I share my lessons with my colleagues and then I make a change, will the changes be automatically reflected in the lesson, or will it need a new share link again? I often get this question versus the old one and with new class sessions.
Yeah, that's a great question. So when you share a link to a file with your colleagues, they will get, if they save a copy right away, it sort of depends on when they go and click on save to save a copy of that lesson. If they click on save right away, then they will get the version of the file that you share with them at the time that they click save. But if you made changes to that lesson after you share the link, and your colleagues click on share after those changes have been made, then they will get those changes as well.
And Lena, I don't know if I saw any more. Is there any more you want to bubble up now, or we save them for something else? Save them for...
Yeah, maybe we can reiterate this one. Slightly looking about in-class scenarios. If we did a lesson in a block structure, I could have one going with students working and then edit items in the next block for the next block.
Absolutely, and that's, I think, one of the really nice thing with the multi-tab workflow support now. Yeah, so absolutely, you can open Lumio in multiple tabs and then edit a file in one tab while driving live delivery or reviewing student work in a different tab. Or if you wanted to, you can edit multiple lessons in multiple tabs. So it's really flexible in terms of how you want to use that capability.
Awesome. All right. We are already past our 30-minute mark, so I want to make sure that I kind of hold you to time. Min, I'm going to take your screen off and move back over here. All right. Thank you all very much for coming. One of the things I want to tell you is that on August 14th, we have two more, and I know that's a little ways away. We have two more class session webinars going on. One is going to be for people that have smart boards, because I saw a couple of questions in the chat about how this interacts with the boards. And then there's another one that's strictly for Lumio, kind of the way this one was. So be on the lookout for those, and those will kind of give you some good ideas as to what kind of district you are, which one you want to sign up for. The next thing I want to point out to you is we have our typical survey. And at the end of that survey is the link for the certificate. So if you'll take a minute to fill that out, we'd love to hear from you, how you like, what you liked, what you'd like to see more of. Plus, I saw a couple of people that had some good suggestions. So I want to point out that we listen, or Min listens, Lena listens, they're the brains behind all this. That whenever you have these great suggestions, I'm going to just show you on my screen live here. I'm going to go back to my library. There is this back here, request a feature. If you request a feature, do a quick search on it, vote for it, see what's in there. Oops, I am definitely zoomed out there. You'll be able to influence what's happening next inside of Lumio, which is great, because then you had some great suggestions. I saw somebody who wanted memory match for more of a high school min and wanted some backgrounds for high school. We just need to let them know our thoughts, and that's a great place to show it. So as you're filling out that survey, I will put the survey in there one more time, and then let me finish to make sure I give you all the great other details that you need in this session. Next, coming up, if you haven't already heard, July 15th and 16th is Lumio Palooza all day, sessions all day. You get choices of 3 different Palooza sessions. Sign up. Putting that link in the chat also, you will find things if you're a beginner, if you're advanced. There's a couple of people that are in here today that are our presenters coming up on that. These are all teachers from around the world that are presenting that day. So they'll give you some great insight of how they're using it in the classroom. We'd love to see you there. Finally, I also want to leave you with this resource. If you take nothing else away, That wakelet is going to be the one where Smart is compiling anything that is with class sessions. So everything that is created so far is in there, but everything going forward will also be in there. So if you want to share that wakelet around, go ahead, but that will give you some great ideas of what's coming or things to share with other teachers who are not here today, or for people in the beginning of the year when we start again. And I think that's about it. Did I miss anything, guys?
No, I think that's all sounds great. Thanks,
All right.
Terry. Thanks for having us.
Thank everybody for coming. And Min and Lena, thank you very much for your expertise. Thank you for making our dreams come true. If I do not have to make copies of every single thing for my algebra classes anymore, I am quite excited about that. So thank you all very much for coming. Hopefully we'll see you at some of the sessions at Lumio Palooza. Everybody stay, I hope, cool if you're in a hot spot like me. If not, if you're in a cool spot, I hope you're enjoying it. Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.